Hey, shining stars, welcome back to the LuvHer Podcast, the space where we grow, heal, and become who God is calling us to be. I'm your girl, Aubrey Shine, and today we're having a conversation that might step on a few toes, but it's going to free you at the same time. Because today we're talking about the power of your voice. Not just talking, not just venting, but really understanding what it means to stop shrinking and start speaking. Let me ask you something. How many times have you stayed quiet just to keep the peace and still ended up losing your own? Yeah, that part. I think a lot of us don't even realize how much we've trained ourselves to shrink. Like, it becomes second nature. You start saying things like, it's fine when it's not. I'm okay when you're hurt. Maybe I'm overthinking when your spirit is literally screaming at you. And it's crazy because at first, shrinking feels like protection. At least I'm going to speak for myself. You know, you're like, I'm just keeping the peace. That's my biggest one. And I am rebuking that in the name of Jesus. But that is one that I say all the time. I'm just keeping the peace. I'm just being understanding. I don't want to argue. But over time, that same shrinking turns into self-betrayal. You start abandoning yourself just to be accepted by people who aren't even showing up for you fully. Let that marinate in your spirit, for real, for real. And let's talk about this real quick. Silence does not always mean peace. I need us to stop romanticizing being quiet like it automatically makes you mature. Because sometimes silence is fear, trauma, people pleasing, avoiding confrontation, or just not feeling safe enough to speak. And yes, I've been there, okay, in a facet of ways. With all of those different things, I've been there thinking I was growing because I wasn't reacting. Whole time I was suppressing. Peace is not pretending. Peace is truth handled with wisdom. And when I say, baby, the whole time I was just suppressing, that eventually, like the pressure of all of that, it will overflow. Just think about it. Think about it in science and get back to me. Exactly. Your voice is literally how you set boundaries. Like if you don't say what you need, people will create their own version of what you accept. And that's how you end up in situations where you're like, how did I even get here? Because you never said that hurt me. I'm not okay with that. I need consistency, not confusion. That no longer works for me. Let me say this clearly. Your voice teaches people how to handle you. And if you stay silent, you're basically teaching people that you'll tolerate anything. Now, this right here, listen, rejection will have you questioning your whole voice. That is like something that most people don't even realize, but it is true. After being overlooked, cheated on, dismissed, not chosen, you start feeling like, what's the point of even speaking up? But let me remind you of something. Just because they didn't choose you doesn't mean you weren't chosen. Shining stars, I want you to say it with me, okay? They didn't choose me, but God still did. God did, inserts DJ Khaled, okay? Sometimes rejection is what pushes you back into alignment. Think of it this way. Have you ever been in a place where you were shrinking and you were never meant to stay there? And so you either get out of the situation and get back into all the things that made you you, or look at it this way. You were a Bible thumper. You were in church. You were serving. You were doing all the things. You got out of alignment with whatever it was, that whether it was making money, being in a relationship, whatever. And you just started picking up your word and you just got into it to a point where it was like you had aha moments. Listen, I'm not speaking what I heard. I'm telling you what I know. Okay? That is God pushing you back into alignment because he's saying, listen, you worried about the wrong thing. That we talked about idolatry in the last episode. Like, think about it. Sometimes we put everything before God, which is our purpose, which is to serve him. And he gonna knock you right on back into alignment because he gonna be like, enough is enough. And you have to remember, if you don't know, now you will hear it because this is spirit and truth. He's jealous, okay? He's a lot of things. And one of those things is he is a jealous guy. So let's just go ahead and call it what it is. This isn't just about relationships either. Your voice in every area matters. Your friendships, when things feel one-sided, in family, when cycles need to be broken, at work, when you know your worth. Come on, coins. In business, when it's time to stop playing small. In your healing, when you finally admit what hurt you. And let's be real, some of us have been the quote unquote strong one for so long. We forgot how to be honest. Being the strong one sometimes in friendships, family, it can be very disheartening when people don't check on you, when people don't pick up the phone and shoot you a quick text. Hey, how you doing? Just thinking about you, anything. But you're always there when they call you. You're always there when they text you. You're always there when there's a problem. You're always there to lend some money. You're always there for everything, for every celebration, everything. And when it's your birthday, when it's your time to cry, when it's your time to vent, when it's your time to do anything, you are left alone. That is not okay. And that is something that you should use your voice and speak up about. God did not give you a voice just to hide it. Your voice is connected to your purpose. You might be called to speak life into people, tell your story, correct what's wrong, lead in spaces you've been afraid of. But if you keep shrinking, you're not just silencing yourself. You might be silencing what God wants to do through you. And think of it this way. You might be hindering somebody else's blessing because you are too afraid to share. You're too afraid to speak up and speak out about things that are wrong, things that need to be better, things that, hey, this is how you can navigate this a lot better than I did. These are the things and the mistakes that I made, but here is a blueprint to get you to where you're trying to go. You literally could be catapulting somebody else into a better environment, a better livelihood. But because you are so stuck in self-preservation or survival mode, because you want to be top dog, you don't want to tell your secrets, you want to gatekeep, or you're just afraid to be judged, you may literally be the person that can help a nation of people. And you are so stuck in your mind because of what other people said about you or told you that you just forget that, hey, you are a vessel here to be used, to serve God, to do great things, to call discipleship, to do all of the things, right? And you just won't speak up or speak out. Remember that. Just remember that, because it might not be for you. It might be for somebody else. And if it is, share. But I had to realize something. Shrinking was never actually saving me. It just made me smaller in rooms where I was already struggling to feel seen in. And every single time I stayed quiet to keep somebody else comfortable, I ended up feeling more disconnected from myself. And I had to start asking myself some really, really hard questions. One being, at what point do I start choosing me? Worried about what everybody else got going on and what everybody else thinks of me was not serving me. It still does not serve me to do that. And I tell you, when I tell you the growth, I wish people who know me know. And the people who knew me that are trying to figure me out because they're not as close in my dot. They're like, who is this person? Because back then, I'm not the same person. If you're not growing, you're not learning, you're just stagnant, you're the same person you were in high school or holding on to who you were. Absolutely not. That is not somewhere I want to be, okay? But you can't keep abandoning yourself and expect to feel whole. Let me say that again. You can't keep abandoning yourself and expect to feel whole. I want to really sit with this, okay? And I want you guys to ask yourself these questions. Where have I been shrinking in my life? What truth have I been afraid to say out loud? Am I calling it peace when it's really fear? What would change if I stopped being afraid to take up space? Think about those questions. Ask yourself those questions. And I mean, really ask yourself those questions. Dig deep, because your answers is where your breakthrough is. I definitely have asked myself those questions, and I repeatedly ask myself those questions and continue to ask myself those questions, especially when I feel like I'm in a space where I'm shrinking and I'm not speaking up and I'm not saying the things that need to be said, because I know that with every storm, with every disappointment, there is something on the other side that I need to be getting in alignment with. And if I haven't figured out what that lesson is yet, I need to get back to the drawing board, because we're going to figure it out. We're not going to be walking around here just as my grandmother would say, dumb as a doorknob. We're not going to do that. We're going to seek what we need, and we're going to apply what we've learned. But let me remind you of this. Using your voice does not make you difficult, dramatic, hard to love. The right people will not require your silence to keep you. The right rooms will not punish you for being clear. And God did not create you to whisper your way through a life He called you to walk boldly in. And in the words of my girls, Mary, yes, I love Mary. If you know, you know, okay? I love them together and I love them separately. But they have a song called Big, and it literally says that if my God is big, why I gotta think small? That don't make no sense at all. Okay? I'm not going to think small. I'm not going to play myself small. I'm not doing that, because it's just too much. And people might say I'm too much, and that's okay. I'm just not for you. Okay, I'm somebody's cup of tea, and maybe I'm not yours, and that is okay. That's fine and dandy. But I know the God that I serve, and He gave me certain talents and skills and things for me to not just keep for myself, but to share and to be able to explore and to be able to give Him the glory through it all. So keep that for yourself as well, because that's something that I promise you will help you through this next season. So if you're in a season where you're finding your voice again, let this be confirmation. You don't have to shrink to be loved. You don't have to stay silent to be chosen. And you don't have to question what God already confirmed in you. Your voice is your power. Use it, protect it, honor it. And as always, thank you for tuning in to the LuvHer Podcast. Listen, Shining Stars, we made it through episode 5, and I made no promises this time because I wasn't sure how it was going to go. Listen, I wasn't sure, but thank you for tuning in, because listen, we are here and we are under 20 minutes. I'm doing good. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to be like this all the time, because sometimes some episodes just have way more context. There's way more things to say, but I feel like this is one of those ones where it's like you get in and you get out, because everything is pretty much self-explanatory here. But I thank you so much, so much for your love, your support, for your listenership. And if this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who needs this reminder. I love you guys, and I mean it. And until the next time, remember to shine on.